Testing, testing. All right, good morning, everybody. I think I'd give you some insight what you might see today. There'll be a lot of red zone work in this last block. You'll also see some competition where, for instance, second down and play it out. You know, may go second down, goes to 2nd and 9, goes to 3rd and 4, or could go second down to 1st down. And so some of those unscripted plays that just allow the communication, the flow of a small series to take place. But that's what we'll hit on a bunch today, and then we'll finish like we normally do with some type of end of the game moments or end of the half. And but good day to get rocking with all the guys. So starting to get into a camp routine now, which feels good. So let's get it rolling.
And we talked about some of the older players and how you handle them, but what are some of the other things that you're very intentional about, and how do you decide like when's a good time to rest them? What's the method behind that?
Yeah, so we start from the beginning and map out the camp. And there's some times where if you can be ahead of it or in the middle of it, to say if there's a 3-day block, we may, based on an injury history or not, utilize somebody to make sure we get them at their best. So it's customized, John, to each player. There'll be, unlikely that people would miss more than one, but when we just trying to be strategic about when you may really ramp it and get a lot of reps, and when you want to back off and get less. Some days off is better than less, but you do need the high days as well.
And but with the locker room, you were very intentional last year about how you organize it. What are some of the locker room seating assignments that you were very intentional about to have? I want this guy by this guy.
Not as much as you think. The main thing you don't want, in my opinion, everybody who's in the same meeting room sitting next to each other then in the locker room as well, because then like all of our diversity isn't a strength, because we're just with the same group in the meeting room, in the locker room, you spend so much time together. So that would be the main thing. But past that, there is a lot of leaders here. So where you may have done that in the past, there's really a really strong group connected here. Are you regarding like the system of plays?
Yeah, like what you're accomplishing, what you're working on.
Yeah, for sure. The first part is like dual. And in a training camp at the start of it, you don't want as many long extended plays. So you can control that by the amount of work that you do. Like in the old days, you may have, this is what we did in the spring, this is what we do now. So now I can control it by doing more work down in the low red zone, which would limit the long running, and then add on to the yards and the workload as it goes. So even the timing of practice, all right, first one's 80, and then it goes, and on and on. So it's different than the spring for sure. I think an old coaching method we had was, hey, these are the installs in the spring, we did them, and then you just repeat them at a training camp. I don't think you can do that anymore based on how the off season is. So I just customize it to now, and then this block will be over, and then we'll turn on the next one and have another emphasis beginning on Sunday with the team.
And then also, because things are structured differently and you don't have those 2-a-days and those longer practices, did you have to adjust in your mind, like not being frustrated that you're not getting as much done because you have to be more mindful of shorter times?
Yeah, I think we just think of each practice as its own performance and making sure. That's why we like moved up, the one up today. It's safer, and also, man, so we can throw like a hell of a practice. And so that's every time we're going out here, we know that's where we really make us, and that's why I love the competition. So we're just trying to like make sure to max out when we're on the field together. Like that's our thing. That's the most important thing that we can do during the day together is the time out on the field. So all the prep and energy and scripting and them preparing their bodies and minds to do that, it all leads to them being able to go perform. So it's the same for everybody. So can we do it better, than the other 31? And that's why I like the collaboration, teammate to teammate, giving each other feedback. We're trying to find any margin to get it, to share the information, to get better. And if we can do that better, that's a double win. Me giving my best, you giving yours, and now like we kind of lift each other by going after it. So we'll dig into that hard.
How exciting, I guess, is it to have Michael Gallup back in football playing here, and how has he looked so far?
Yeah, Mike, yesterday you felt the length. He can really extend to go get the ball. There's, one of the things he's known for is deep ball and, on the sideline, being able to use that length and extension. So he's got a great energy about him, and just getting back into the flow of it with a new system also. It was good to have him through the off season to get himself prepared, to really come and do his thing. So, yeah, it was nice to see him make some plays yesterday.
Dan, not all incoming first-round picks are the same in terms of like maturity coming into the league physically or whatnot. With Josh, true junior, 21, how have you kind of seen him handle so far this experience, and what have you just kind of seen his play so far?
Yeah, from the time we got to meet him, he just got as a younger college player coming up, he had more of a professional attitude, and they had said that about Oregon. Talking to some of the people on the staff there, man, this guy handles his business. So although he's younger, I definitely felt that, attitude to really put in the extra to go. And he's got some excellent guys in this offensive line group, to model, to ask questions. And so he's pretty fortunate in that way to have the right people around him to really nail it.
I know the scary conversation is for Adam, but we're still waiting, I guess, to see what's going to happen. In general, I guess, just sort of how surprised are you that we're still here and this is still an ongoing conversation?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because when there's an update to tell you, you won't have to ask. I'll tell you, and I'll be pumped about it. So, there's nothing for me to add to it, but I don't have anything to add, from when Adam was the other day. But you won't have to ask if there's an update. I'll definitely be the one to give it to you. Good morning.
You kind of talked about it a little bit already, but Brandon Coleman just having
Bring it.
Laramie Tunsil on one side, Tyler Biadasz on the other side. Can you kind of expand on just how much of a platform that gives him to be successful in this second year?
Yeah. Brandon's work ethic is really sets him apart, and so he's thoughtful. He wants to ask questions, and Tyler's that way in a sense too. And I'm still getting to learn Laramie, but to have two guys that have been in the fights together, right side by side next to one another. The best offensive lines really can communicate well, and I love how much time I see these guys spend together on the field, off the field, support one another. So from Brandon moving from outside to inside, for guys like Nick Allegretti, he's the greatest teammate you can have. He's just all in with you, and so he's an example of somebody that Brandon can also talk to. What about this technique? What about that look? And you have to figure some of it out on your own. Not every technique works for every single player, but Brandon's thoughtful enough to say, okay, this is what works for me.
You're real big on competition across the board, right?
Yep.
For that first 11-on-11 play, calling up the deep shot, very first play of camp, how does that kind of help set that?
It does set it because it's us we're our first opponent. And if we just stay in that mindset and absolutely love doing it together, you'll just find, man, you just keep getting better and stronger going against each other. So it's that fine balance of make sure not on the ground, taking care of each other, but absolutely battling for it together. It's a lot of fun, and that's what makes being a part of this team a really cool thing. If it's a touchdown or not, hey man, was it a sack? Was it not? And so then on to the next one, and then on to the next one. And if you can kind of stay in that moment and not looking past, I beat you or you beat me, and then now we're going to the next one. It helps fuel, getting better.
Hey, good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
So what does the next step look like for Ben Sinnott and Javonte Jean-Baptiste?
Yeah. It started in the off season. Both of them gained some strength and some size. They've added confidence in their game because now more reps, more techniques to do that. And now we just need to get them in and playing. But both of them have really, kind of jumped out to us this off season to say, okay, this is your time. You've, put the work in. Now you get to go do that. And so finding ways for them to express that in practice, here, against other teams, preseason games, that's the next step.
Hey, Coach.
Good morning.
You talked a little bit yesterday about really looking at some of the players that just came here,
Right.
Goldman and Kinlaw and all those games as far as how they're mashing. In the early stages of camp in getting ready for the Patriots and the Ravens inter-squad scrimmage, early on, what is it that you want to see from this team as a whole?
Understanding one another. I want to hear the communication. That's what I want to see at practice. So they have a rock solid understanding of a technique. For people that have had lots of experience, okay, I've done it this way, but this is how we'll do it here. That's a big piece of it. The next piece is their ability to, us as a staff, find the unique things they can do and then draw it out of them. And so us as a staff getting to learn who the player is, what their strengths are, that's also part of the next month.
The newer players here, Will Jones and Jonathan Jones, what have you seen from those two guys in the early stages as they mash together with their teammates?
Yeah, I feel Jonathan's speed and Will as well. Both of these guys can really fly. On the first day, I felt Will's communication as a safety, that's so important to be able to talk ahead of the call. So a formation or something that's about to happen, kind of like playing defense in basketball, can you say where the screen is? Can you say where the ball is going to be? And so for the safeties and the people that can do that, that's a really big deal. And then from Jonathan, from day one, man, this is a absolutely squared away professional that can play multiple spots, nickel and corner. He's been an absolute blast to coach.
Morning, Dan.
Morning.
We've talked about it. The running back room is deep. You got some players in that room, specifically Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. How does he jump out to you, and how does he fit into that room?
Yeah, at that position, like I said, it's a hard one to evaluate in non-pads because you don't know if did the person make the tackle, did he break the tackle, and so it's offensive line, defensive line, and running backs are sometimes the hardest. But what you can evaluate is the explosion on the cut, the assignment, was the read correct, and having Anthony here is a really big deal, from a running back standpoint. He's got so much experience, can give the insight to the players to absolutely get them right. But I think it's the violence of the cuts, that he can get his shoulders square and get downhill fast. So I'm very excited to see, once we get into some opportunities where does he get tackled, does he not, does he run through some? So, but he's off to a really good start.
A lot of this predates your time here, but because they were drafted in back-to-back drafts.
Can you hit the first part again, JP? Sorry.
Yeah, just a lot of this predates your time here, but Daron and John Allen were drafted back-to-back first-rounders from Bama, and they were
Right.
always kind of like brought up together. What, if any, differences have you noticed with Daron, with John gone? Just vocal?
That'd probably be a better one for Daron. I don't want to tell his story, because I wasn't here during when they're, like you said, coming through together. But what I can say is that, man, is he really on it. Like, he's been absolutely going for it the entire spring. There's an energy about him and a discipline that he's really ready to go take it on.
You talked a little bit about this during the offseason when you brought him back, but how important is it for Zach Ertz and the role he has, and just even watching him go through special teams drills and just the leadership he brings? We talk Bobby and Vaughn, but Ertz is right there.
100% he's right there. He has this ability, because he's seen a lot, that he can collaborate with a coach. Hey, Joe, I know what the coverage was. I could see it based on this person or this call. And, what a valuable teammate. Not just to tell the other safety, but to be able to incorporate, coaching. That's connection, man. That's a championship mindset to say, how do we find ways to do it better? So I had high expectations of what it would be like to coach Zach, and he has absolutely surpassed that.
Last season, there were 6 come-from-behind victories, a lot of success in game-specific situations, fourth downs, red zone, 2-minute, that kind of stuff. Does that reinforce, the extra time, the amount of time you guys are working on here in camp doing those scenarios?
Yeah, you'll have to check, Mitch, on the numbers, but it's going to be damn near 6 or 7 out of 10 games that are going to be within a score. And so knowing that's our league and being able to find edges and moments to be at your best in these spots, I think it's critical. We had a good discussion last night, you know, with some of the players on kickoff return, and we were standing there at the 35. Say, okay, this is out here, you know, our team's going to be willing to touch it back and put the ball at the 35 or put it in play. And so all these discussions come up on how do you find margins and edges to go win it. And think about like a field position difference that could take place even in special teams. But it's why we do, you know, the extra work in these moments that, you know, 1 minute left, 32 seconds left, end of the half. Can you hold on to the ball and not give them a possession? Going forward on fourths, those are all part of finding like small margins, man. And you got to execute, you got to be able to deliver, because there's like that fine line between like reckless and being bold. And we want to be bold, but not like, let's just go for it. So it's thoughtful. What's the play? What yard line would we? So we spend a lot of time preparing the team for those moments, and then you go let it rip. Effing rip. Thank you.